"Get out of my way, you fool! You'll get my suit dirty!" Camille Novak aimed a sharp kick at a pregnant woman. Catherine fell to her knees, shielding her stomach. White towels slid onto the marble floor. Camille's friends laughed and recorded everything on their phones. Catherine raised her eyes calmly, without tears. She looked him straight in the eyes. "My husband is already on his way," she said calmly, like a ticking bomb. This calmness unsettled Camille for the first time. Dozens of restaurant guests, the White Swan, watched the scene from a distance. Some whispered indignantly, but no one stepped in to help. Others discreetly pulled out their phones, anticipating the millions of views the video would garner on social media. With a dignity that contrasted brutally with her humiliation, Catherine slowly stood up, picked up the towels one by one, and calmly walked away. Her right hand remained on her stomach the entire time, leaving a silence full of questions in its wake. No one could imagine who this woman's husband really was, or what secret would shake the entire Novak family. 3 hours later, the recording was circulating on all platforms. The Novak family built their empire over 40 years. Andrzej Novak, Camille's father, ran a chain of luxury hotels, shopping centers, and development projects throughout Poland. His fortune was estimated at 700 million zlotys, and his political influence reached the highest levels of government. Camille grew up in a world of absolute privilege. He never worked a single day in his life. His only responsibilities were spending the family money on sports cars, extravagant trips, and private parties on yachts. By the age of 22, he had already been expelled from 3 universities for drug and violence scandals. His younger sister, eine, at the age of 19, followed a similar path. They both treated domestic workers, waiters, and company employees as inferior beings, disposable objects that existed only to serve them. Katarzyna Zielinska had started working at the Biały Łabędź restaurant just 2 months earlier, after she quit her job at a veterinary clinic, because she could no longer stand for so many hours. She needed money. Her husband was away on business. She had to support the family until he returned. At 20, with her nursing career interrupted due to lack of funds, she displayed a natural beauty that didn't need expensive makeup or designer clothes. She carried within herself the quiet elegance of someone who had faced hardship without losing her kindness. That evening, when she returned to her small apartment, she found her phone flooded with messages. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers sent her screenshots of the viral video. Pregnant woman kicked by millionaire in luxury restaurant. Businessman's son brutally attacks pregnant woman. The arrogance of the rich knows no bounds. The video reached 2 million views in just 3 hours. Comments abounded with outrage, anger, and demands for justice. Some users have already identified Camille Novak and started spreading information about the whole family. Catherine turned off the phone and sat on the bed. She tenderly stroked her belly, feeling the baby's tiny kicks. "Don't worry, my love. Everything will be fine," she whispered. But deep down, she knew the storm was just beginning. Across town at the Novak residence, Andrzej received one call after another from image consultants, lawyers, and business partners. The crisis spread like wildfire. The media had already picked up on the story, and all news outlets in the country were expected to be reporting on it in the morning. Camille, unaware of the scale of the disaster he had caused, was fast asleep in his 500 square meter apartment. The sun had not yet risen when Andrzej Novak's phone started ringing nonstop. "Mr. Novak, we need to talk immediately." The tense voice of Piotr Kaczmarek, director of communications and image, spoke up. "The video with your son already has 8 million views, is trending all over the world on all platforms." Andrzej sat up in his bed in the wide double bed, still unable to comprehend the scale of the disaster. Through the windows of his penthouse, he looked at the city that he helped create with shopping centers and residential skyscrapers. "What recording are you talking about?" he asked. "Please turn on the news, sir. Any channel." With the remote control in his hand, he turned on the 75-inch TV. Channel 1 broadcast in slow motion his son kicking a pregnant woman in the city's most exclusive restaurant. In the second, 3 commentators analyzed the case as a symbol of social inequality. The third showed spontaneous protests in front of the Novak Group offices. "God," Andrew muttered. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Partners terminated contracts, investors withdrew funds, and top managers resigned due to irreconcilable ethical differences. By 7 a.m., more than 20 administrative staff had walked off the job. The domestic servants also did not show up. The morning news opened the story with interviews with human rights specialists and women's rights advocates. Camille woke up to his father's screams. "Camille, come down immediately." When he reached the office, he saw his father pacing back and forth like a trapped lion. The screens displayed graphs of the company's share price collapse. In just 6 hours, they lost 30% of their market value. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Andrew roared. 40 years of work destroyed in one night. "Dad, she was just the annoying waitress. People will forget in a week." Andrzej stepped closer to his son, and for the first time in 22 years, yelled at him with full force. "This annoying waitress is costing us 8 million zlotys." The office door opened and Piotr Kaczmarek entered, accompanied by an elderly man of about 60, dressed in an impeccable but modest suit. His very presence commanded respect. "Mr. Nowak, allow me to introduce Attorney Rutkowski," Kaczmarek said nervously. "He represents a beaten woman." Attorney Rutkowski had eyes that seemed to read minds. His perfectly combed gray hair and steely gaze exuded unwavering intelligence. Mr. Nowak spoke in a calm but firm tone. "I come to make a proposition that may save what remains of your reputation." "How much do you want?" Andrzej asked directly. "It's not about the money. My little one is not looking for financial compensation." Camille burst out laughing sarcastically. "So what does she want? A public apology? A foundation named after her?" The lawyer looked at him as if he were a disgusting insect. "She wants real justice. Justice that changes." He opened the leather briefcase and took out a folder with documents. "Your son will be working as a volunteer at St. Mary's Hospital for the next 2 months, specifically in the maternity ward, helping pregnant women from poor families. No privileges, no excuses, no absences." "This is absurd," Camille shouted. "The alternative," continued the unmoved attorney Rutkowski, "is to sue for physical assault, intentional bodily harm, psychological harm, and social discrimination. Lawyers have calculated that this could amount to approximately PLN 400 million in compensation, plus legal costs and irreversible damage to the image of your family." Andrzej felt the air leaking out of him. Rutkowski added, "My client has set one non-negotiable condition. The community service will end only when her child is born. Until then, your son must diligently perform his duties at the hospital. And if I agree to this, will the case be closed?" Andrzej asked. "If your son shows real change and meets all the conditions, my client will consider abandoning legal action." Camille watched the entire scene as if it were a nightmare. "Dad, you can't be serious." Andrzej looked at the screens showing the stock price crash, protests in the streets, and broken contracts. With a trembling voice, he said, "I agree." And for the first time in his life, Camille Nowak had to go to work. St. Mary's Hospital smelled of disinfectants and human suffering. Camille arrived on the first day in his new BMW and parked in a space reserved for doctors. Security guards immediately approached him. "Young man, this space is for medical personnel only." "I am medical personnel," Camille lied, showing a letter signed by attorney Rutkowski, accrediting him as a volunteer. "Volunteers park on the street," the security guard replied firmly. The first humiliation. Ward supervisor Barbara Kowalska was a 50-year-old woman with 30 years of experience working in a hospital. She had witnessed hundreds of births. She had comforted mothers who had lost their children and worked 24-hour shifts. She had no patience for rich kids pretending to be volunteers. "So you are the famous Camille Nowak," she explained, handing him a faded green apron. "Names don't matter here, only the work counts." She assigned him the simplest tasks: mopping floors, changing sheets, serving meals to patients, taking out the trash. On the very first day, Camille refused to clean the bathroom. "I won't touch that," he said with disgust. "Then go home," Barbara replied coldly. "But be clear, if you don't fulfill this duty, you will face a multi-million lawsuit tomorrow." Camille cleaned the bathroom. His hands, accustomed only to champagne glasses and sports car steering wheels, blistered from cleaning products. His back ached from the constant bending, and his feet swelled after 8 hours of standing. Nurses treated him with professional coldness. Doctors ignored him, and patients watched with curiosity, some recognizing his face from the news. In the first week, he tried to use his influence to gain privileges. "Do you know who I am?" he asked the intern, who asked him to take samples to the lab. "Yes, I know who you are," the intern replied calmly. "You're a volunteer who will take these samples to the lab." It didn't work. In the second week, he tried to convince his father to end this farce. "Dad, this is inhumane. I work here like a servant." "You work like any normal person," Andrzej replied, "and you will do it until this woman's child is born." It was in the third week that Camille saw Katarzyna for the first time since the night at the restaurant. She came for a routine prenatal visit. She was wearing a simple maternity dress and comfortable. Her hair was tied in a simple ponytail, and despite the lack of heavy makeup, she still exuded a natural beauty that needed no embellishment. When their eyes met in the hallway, Katarzyna looked at him with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. There was no hatred in her eyes, which further unsettled Camille. Mrs. Zielinska was greeted by a nurse. "This way, please." Camille followed her with his eyes as she walked toward the doctor's office, instinctively protecting her stomach, the same one he had kicked. For the first time, he felt something strange in his chest, an unpleasant feeling he couldn't name. In the following days, he began to listen to the patient's stories. Ola, 16, pregnant and abandoned by her boyfriend. Malia, with 4 children, whose husband had emigrated to Germany. Anna, a single mother who worked 12 hours a day as a cleaner to cover the costs of her pregnancy. Women who fought with dignity, who fiercely defended their children, and who found strength in adversity. One afternoon while cleaning, in the nurse's break room, Camille found a pair of new latex gloves on the desk. There was no note, but he knew immediately who had left them. Katarzyna noticed his hands were cracking from the cleaning products. That night, Camille kept thinking about that gesture. No one in his life had ever shown him such care. His parents bought him his trips, luxuries, but no one had ever noticed his worn-out hands. The next day, while he was organizing patient files, he saw her in the waiting room. Katarzyna was rubbing her belly in circular motions, whispering words he couldn't hear from afar. Her face radiated that special light of expectant mothers who speak to the child they carry under their womb. For the first time in his life, Camille Novak felt true guilt and for the first time wondered what kind of person he had been until now. The meeting took place in Andrei Novak's main office on the 42nd floor of the city's tallest office building. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view that could make anyone feel like they owned the world. But that afternoon, Andrei didn't feel powerful. Attorney Rakowski arrived in the company of Katarzyna, who, 8 months pregnant, walked with the calm confidence of women in the final stages of waiting. She wore a simple navy blue dress, emphasizing her quiet dignity against the opulence of the place. "Mr. Nowak," Rakowski began, "it's time to reveal the whole truth." "What truth?" Andrei frowned. "I thought this was just about the lawsuit. This is about something much deeper," Rakowski replied, opening his briefcase. He spread several photographs and documents on the Italian marble table. The first showed a man of about 45 in military uniform. He had the same steely eyes as Andrei and the same strong facial features, but his gaze held a nobility that Andrei had lost decades earlier. "Andrei, allow me to formally introduce you to your sister-in-law, Katarzyna Zielinska Novak." Silence fell on the office like an avalanche. "Katarzyna is the wife of your older brother, Mikhail Novak, the same one who had been with you for 15 years. He severed ties with you a year ago because of how you treated your employees." Andrei felt the ground slipping from under his feet. Mikhail is dead," he whispered. "He died on a military mission abroad." He stammered. "Mikhail is alive." Katarzyna interrupted firmly. "He was on secret missions for 12 years. We couldn't contact his family for national security reasons." Rutkowski arranged more documents on the table. A year ago, Mikhail had retired from the army with honors. He married Katarzyna a month ago. When they decided to return and contact his family, Mikhail learned of the incident at the restaurant. Andrei picked up one of the photographs. It showed Mikhail and Katarzyna on their wedding day, surrounded by soldiers in an intimate ceremony. "Why didn't he contact me directly?" Andrei asked, his voice breaking. "Because he wanted to see what kind of people you had become," Katarzyna replied. "Mikhail asked me to work at the restaurant for a few weeks to observe how the Novak family treated humble people. The revelation hit like a hammer. It was just a test," Katarzyna added. "Mikhail wanted to see if there was still a chance for family reconciliation." Andrei sank into his chair. "And my son kicked you. Your son attacked his uncle's pregnant wife, his future cousin, the woman his brother loved more than his own life." At that moment, the office door opened. In walked a man Andrei hadn't seen in 15 years, but he recognized him immediately. Mikhail Novak was 45 years old, but he was still in excellent physical shape. His military bearing was evident in every movement, and his eyes held a wisdom and kindness that Andrei envied. "Hello, brother," Mikhail said calmly. Andrei slowly stood up. They both looked at each other for long seconds, reading in their faces the passage of time and the choices that had separated them. "Mikhail, I thought you were dead. I've been dead to you for a few years. Since the day I saw how you treated Maria, the housekeeper who worked in our parents' house for 20 years. Remember? They left without pension or severance pay when she got cancer." Andrei closed the door. That memory haunted him for years. It was a mistake. he stammered. No, it was a decision that showed who you really are, Mikhail replied. That's why I left. That's why I cut off all contact. He stepped closer to Katarzyna and placed a protective hand on her belly. When Katarzyna told me what happened in the restaurant, my first instinct was to come here and confront your son like I confront cowards who attack pregnant women. Andrzej swallowed, but my wife convinced me to give him a chance, to see if there was anything salvageable in him. Mikhail walked to the window looking out at the city. For the past few weeks, I've been following Camille in the hospital. I get reports every day. Have you been following him? Andrzej asked, astonished. I have contacts everywhere. I know he initially resisted, that he tried to use influence, that he complained and protested. He fell silent for a moment, his gaze fixed on the street. But I also know that yesterday he helped a teenage mother fill out hospital forms. I know he stayed overtime 3 days ago to clean up after an emergency, and I know he started treating the nurses with respect. He turned back to Andrzej. My nephew is changing. The question is this a real change or just a ploy to get out of trouble? With the grace of a pregnant woman, Katarzyna stood up. That's why we want to run one last test. She said our baby will be born in 2 weeks. We want Camille to be present at the birth, to see the life he risked, to truly understand the gravity of his act, Mikhail added. Then we will decide whether family reconciliation is possible. Andrzej looked at his older brother with a mixture of admiration and shame. What if Camille truly doesn't change? Mikhail picked up the photograph from the table. Then I will know that the Novak family has no redemption, and we will be gone forever. When they left the office, Andrzej was left alone in front of the huge windows, staring at the city he had built with money, but without a heart. For the first time in decades, he felt true fear. Fear of losing something that no amount of money could buy, the chance to get his brother back. Camille's 6th week in the hospital began differently. He arrived early, before the nurses from the morning shift. His hands, already calloused from work, carefully prepared the necessary things for the day. He no longer complained about his worn-out uniform or the smell of disinfectant, which had become familiar. That morning, an emergency case was brought in, an 18-year-old girl in premature birth. Her name was Ola, and she came alone, terrified and crying. I have no way to pay, she repeated through tears. My boyfriend left me when he found out I was pregnant, and my family threw me out of the house. Dr. Kaminsky, a 50-year-old man known for his bad temper, approached impatiently. If you can't pay, go to a public hospital. We don't run a charity here. Camille watched the scene from the hallway. Something inside him snapped like a spring. He stepped forward with a decisive step. I'll cover Ola's costs. The doctor looked at him in astonishment. You, a volunteer, have to pay for a stranger. That's what Camille replied without hesitation. And if you have a problem with that, talk to the hospital management. For the first time in his life, he used family influence to help someone else, not himself. Ola looked at him with tears of gratitude. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me. Just focus on giving birth to a healthy baby. For the next few hours, Camille was by her side. He held her by the waist. He gave her his hand as the contractions intensified. He gave her water when she was thirsty and spoke encouraging words when fear gripped her. When the baby was born, healthy and strong, weighing just over 3 kilos, Camille felt an emotion he had never known before. The sight of this tiny life he had helped protect filled him with a satisfaction deeper than any sports car or luxury trip. What will you name it? He asked as Ola cradled the newborn. Dawood replied like an angel who had helped me when I needed it most. Camille left the room with tears in his eyes. In the hallway, he met ward nurse Barbara Kowalska, who had initially treated him harshly. You did something good today, boy, she said with a smile he had never seen before. This child has a chance to live because of you. Period. I only did what every decent person should do. No, Camille, not everyone. I've seen many rich people here in 30 years who never lifted a finger to help others. This while sorting patient files that afternoon, he saw Katarzyna, who had come for her last visit before giving birth. Her belly was already full, and she was walking with the slow pace of the last weeks of pregnancy. As she passed Camille's desk, she stopped. I heard what you did for Ola today, she said quietly. Camille looked up, expecting irony or distrust. Instead, he saw something akin to recognition. She needed help, and so you gave it to her, expecting nothing in return. Katarzyna stood beside him, stroking her belly in circular motions. I want you to know, Camille, I've been watching you these past weeks. At first, I thought it was just an act, but I saw how you treated patients, how you stayed after hours during emergencies, how you looked at newborns as if you were understanding life for the first time. Camille felt a lump in his throat. Katarzyna, what I did to you that night. I can't forgive you for that. She interrupted firmly. That kick could have killed my baby. It could have killed me, period. A silence stretched between them like, I can trust what you're starting to do, she added. And that's more important than forgiveness. She walked away toward the doctor's office, leaving Camille with her words echoing in his head. 3 days later, at 2 a.m., an alarm sounded in the hospital. Katarzyna went into labor. Camille was finishing his night shift when he saw Mikhail running down the corridor, carrying his wife in his arms. The former soldier's face betrayed the fear of a man who had faced enemy fire, but had never seen anything more terrifying than the suffering of a beloved woman. Where's the doctor? Mikhail shouted. My wife is bleeding. The doctor on duty immediately appeared, followed by a team of nurses. Camille watched from a distance, feeling helpless, but unable to leave. It was a minor complication, the doctor explained, after examining Katarzyna. The baby is positioned incorrectly, but we'll manage. We need to prepare her for emergency surgery. For the next 2 hours, Mikhail paced the corridor like a trapped lion. His trembling hands were the only evidence of his immense fear. Camille approached, seeing his silent agony. Uncle Sir, he corrected himself. Can I stay with you? Mikhail looked at him in astonishment. You don't have to do this, Camille. I have to. I was the one who once endangered that woman and her child. I have to be here until I know they're safe. They both sat on uncomfortable plastic chairs in the waiting room. The silence between them carried 15 years of distance and 5 weeks of transformation. When you were a boy, Mikhail suddenly spoke up. You followed me everywhere. You said you wanted to be a soldier like me, period. Camille smiled sadly. I remember. Do you know why I really distanced myself from my family? Camille shook his head. Because I saw what money did to all of you. I saw how your father treated employees like objects. How your mother spoke contemptuously of the poor. How you and Ania grew up believing you were superior just because you were born into luxury. Mikhail rested his elbows on his knees. In the army, I learned that a person's worth isn't measured by what they have, but by what they're willing to give up for others. Just as I sacrifice family relationships for principles, you now sacrifice your own comfort to serve women you once despised. At that moment, the doctor left the room, his mask hanging around his neck. Mr. Nowak, you have a beautiful, healthy son. Your wife is doing well. Mikhail sank into a chair, letting out a deep breath of relief. Can I see them? Of course. They're in room 304. As they walked down the corridor, Mikhail stopped. Camille, I want you to meet your cousin. They entered the room together where Katarzyna, exhausted but radiant with motherhood, held a small bundle wrapped in a blue blanket. Mikhail whispered, Look at him, he's beautiful. He kissed her forehead with a tenderness that caused a pang of jealousy in Camille. He had never witnessed such pure, protective love before. What shall we call him? Mikhail asked. Samuel, Katarzyna replied. Samuel, name, biblical, symbolizing the protection of families. Camille stood in the doorway watching this child, now sleeping peacefully, once in danger because of him. This woman radiating happiness had once endured terror because of his arrogance. Camille, Catherine called, come closer. He took a step slowly as if walking on holy ground. Do you want to hold him? I don't know if I should. I want you to do this, she insisted. I want you to feel the weight of the life you've protected all these weeks. With trembling hands, Camille took Samuel in his arms. The child was so small, so fragile, and yet so perfect. His tiny fingers tightened around Camille's. In that moment, something inside him broke. All the arrogance and coldness accumulated over 22 years collapsed like sandcastles. He began to cry. It wasn't the spoiled cry of a rich boy, but the deep sobs of a man who had finally understood the enormity of his mistakes and the beauty of redemption. I'm sorry, he whispered, looking at the child, at Catherine, and at Mikhail. I'm so sorry. We know, Mikhail replied, placing his hand on his shoulder. And since you truly feel this way, we can start being a family again. Outside, the dawn painted the sky golden, as if the world itself were celebrating Samuel's birth and Camille's rebirth. 5 years later, the garden at the Novak residence had changed completely. Where ostentatious marble statues once stood, fruit trees grew for the neighborhood children. Where once there was untouchable grass, there was a playground where Samuel and the other children played every afternoon. 27-year-old Camille gently pushed the swing on which his cousin laughed with the pure joy of childhood. The boy inherited the steely eyes of his family, but he had the kindness of his mother's smile. Uncle Camille, will you tell me again the story of how you worked at the hospital? Again? I've told you this 1,000 times, but I like it, especially the part where you helped deliver Ola's baby. Camille smiled. Ola and her son Dawood, now also 5, had become part of the family. The boy walked to the private school the Nowaks had transformed into an institution offering full scholarships to children from poor families. Fine, but then you'll help me make dinner. From the terrace, Katarzyna watched the stage, stroking her belly. She was pregnant again and expecting a daughter who was to be named Nadzieja. This time, Camille was the first to offer help with anything needed during the pregnancy. Michał came up behind her and put his arms around her. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "How strange life is," she replied. 5 years ago, I would never have thought I would have such a beautiful family, or that my brother would become the man he is now. Andrzej Nowak took early retirement after his son's transformation. He no longer ran his empire with an iron fist. Instead, he created a foundation providing decent work and health insurance for single mothers. He spent his days teaching Samuel to fish in the small pond in the garden. Ania, Camille's younger sister, had also changed. She now ran a shelter for pregnant single mothers, inspired by her brother's transformation. "Dad, can I stay for dinner?" Camille asked, approaching with Samuel at his side. "This is your house, son. You can always stay." But they both knew Camille lived in his own apartment near the hospital, where he worked as a volunteer coordinator. He had a nursing degree and specialized in neonatology, leading other privileged young people to discover the value of community service. While preparing dinner, Samuel spoke passionately about his day at kindergarten. He had his mother's gift for making friends and his father's quiet determination. "Uncle Camille, is it true that you used to be bad?" he asked suddenly with the brutal honesty of children. Camille put down the knife and crouched down to his level. "Yes, Samuel, I used to be very bad. I hurt your mother when she was pregnant with you, but you're not bad anymore. I try to be good every day. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes hard, but you help me remember why it's worth trying." Samuel looked at him seriously. "Mom says people can change if they really want to. Your mother is very wise. And she says I changed because I learned to love." Camille felt the power in throat. Even after 5 years, Samuel's words could move him to tears. "You love me, Uncle Camille. I love you more than my own life, Samuel. That's why you're good now." Dinner was spent laughing, talking about work, and making plans for the weekend. Michał told stories from his military service, adapted to a child's ears. Katarzyna talked about the progress at the shelter. Andrzej listened attentively, adding only when he had something truly important to say. When it came time to put Samuel to bed, the whole family participated in the ritual. Camille read him a story. Michał sang a military lullaby. Katarzyna kissed him goodnight, and Andrzej promised to take him fishing the next day. "Good night, family," Samuel whispered, closing his eyes. As the adults drank coffee on the terrace, Camille looked up at the sky. 5 years earlier, he had never noticed the stars, too busy looking only at himself. "You know what's the strangest thing about all this?" he asked Michał. "I'm happier now working at the hospital and living on my salary than I ever was with my family. Unlimited credit cards and sports cars. That's because now you understand the difference between price and value." "And what difference is that?" Michał pointed to the window behind which Samuel slept peacefully. "Price is what you pay. Value is what you get in return. This child has no price. Its value is infinite." Camille nodded in understanding. Like forgiveness, like true love, like a second chance. That night, as he slowly drove back to his apartment, he saw a pregnant woman struggling to cross the street at a red light. Without hesitation, he got out of the car. "Excuse me, ma'am, do you need help?" The woman looked at him suspiciously, but something in Camille's eyes reassured her. "I'm looking for St. Mary's Hospital. I was told they handle emergencies there, even if you don't have money. I work there, I'll take you. Please get in, I'll go right away." On the way, he thought about all the times he passed people in need without noticing them. He thought about the night he attacked Katarzyna and how this terrible act triggered the most important transformation of his life. He thought of Samuel sleeping in his bed, of Katarzyna expecting her second daughter, of Michał, who had the wisdom to offer redemption instead of revenge. He thought of Ola and Dawood, of the dozens of mothers he had accompanied over the past 5 years, of the children he had seen come into the world. When they reached the hospital, he helped the woman register and made sure she received immediate care. Returning to the car, he found a note tucked behind the windshield wiper. "Thank you for proving that there are still angels on earth. Monica Lewandowska." Camille tucked the note into his wallet next to the first photo of him holding newborn Samuel in his arms. That night, before he fell asleep, he wrote in the journal he had kept since his transformation. "Dear future me, today Samuel asked me if I had ever been angry. I told him the truth, but I also understood something. I wasn't really angry. I was lost. I confused privilege with superiority, power with strength, price with value. Now I know that true strength lies in protecting the weak, that true wealth lies in the love you give and receive, and true greatness lies in serving others. Tomorrow will be another day to be better, another day to honor the second chance I was given, another day to prove that people can change if they really want to. Samuel is right. I have changed because I have learned to love, and I love even more every day. Good night, world. Thank you for teaching me that it is never too late to be born again. In the silence of the night, somewhere in the city, a pregnant woman slept peacefully in a hospital bed, knowing she had found help exactly when she needed it most. In a home that had learned to be a family, a 5-year-old boy dreamed of stories of redemption and second chances. And in the heart of the man who discovered the value of humility, there grew the certainty that some mistakes could be paid for with money, but others could only be healed with forgiveness and love. This story has ended, but your own story of transformation may be just beginning. Have you ever had a life-changing experience of forgiveness? Do you know anyone who found their better self after a big mistake? Have you witnessed how true love can transform even the most lost souls? We all have moments when we can choose to be like Camille in the restaurant or like Camille in the hospital. A moment when we must decide between arrogance and humility, contempt and compassion, hurt and heal. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that it's never too late to change, if it inspired you to be kinder to those going through hardships, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to our channel to hear more stories that heal souls and remind us of the beauty of humanity. Each week we share stories of transformation, forgiveness, and second chances. And please leave a comment. Which country are you watching us from? We love knowing that these stories travel across the globe, connecting hearts and reminding us that no matter our language or culture, we all have the same capacity to love, forgive, and transform. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money we have in the bank. What counts is how much love we carry in our hearts and how much good we are able to do. Until the next story, may your day be full of blessings and opportunities to become the best version of yourself.